as somebody who's been driving for Uber and Lyft for years, and also taking Uber and Lyft for years, it's really interesting to see how ride-sharing works on both sides of the equation. And over time, especially because I'm a former accountant and have a big background in business, I've come up with a few ideas and ways to improve Uber and Lyft. So in this video, I'm talking about 5 ideas to improve Uber and Lyft in 2022. Number 1, raises for drivers. Now I know Uber and Lyft does have these bonus structures where the more rides you do, you get into higher tiers and et cetera, you get more perks and more just rewards and whatnot. But even still, I think to incentivize drivers who've been driving for longer, will incentivize them to continue driving. And although Uber Lyft drivers are independent contractors, this does vary state by state. Whole other subject for a whole other video, because I know a lot of states now are considering making them employees. But moving past that, so let's say they had something, and again, I'm making this up. If you've been driving for 2 years, we're now going to do 2-year Tuesdays, where every Tuesday you get 1.5x the amount. So if you've been driving for 2 years, we're going to now give you a raise or a bonus because of your longevity of driving. And every Tuesday you make 1.5x the typical amount, or it's always a 1.5x surge or higher. Something along those lines. Just some way to incentivize drivers to say, hey, we know you've been driving for a while. We know that you're a loyal employee and you've gotten extremely high ratings. You've been a great driver. We're going to give you an extra incentive to continue driving for longer. Number 2, favorites. This, I think, would be a very cool concept where, let's say I take an Uber and Lyft. I'm here in Vegas right now, and I've had some amazing drivers here. And let's say I get a driver, I'm like, you know what, I really like this driver. Not only am I gonna give him or her 5 stars, I'm gonna hit a special option that says favorite. If I hit favorite and that driver also hits favorite, they're gonna pair us up. And what that means is in the future, if I do order another Uber or Lyft and they happen to be available, they will be my priority driver. I think that would be a very cool option, because for me personally, when I go out, I feel like a lot of people do this. What do? You pull up Uber, you pull up Lyft. Whichever one is cheaper, you go with that one. However, I'd have no problem spending more money to be connected with a driver that I already know, I already trust, I've already had him or her before, and I think that'll make the overall experience of getting to your destination a lot more enjoyable. One big caveat I have to say about this though is it has to be a 2-way street, meaning both the driver and the passenger have to favorite each other. Think of it almost like matchmaking on any dating app, where you both essentially have to swipe right. That way, let's say you have let's be blunt, let's say you have a very attractive girl driving, and every guy hits that favorite button. Well, of course, that can be annoying for her. That's why it has to be, I think, a 2-way street. I think this would be just a really cool way overall to improve the customer service aspect for both the passengers and the drivers. That way they know after, let's say favoriting a bunch of drivers or a bunch of passengers, that let's say if one of them is available, it's a priority pickup. Number 3, and this one is just about Uber, get rid of the GPS. Just do it. I know that the Uber GPS has improved over the years. I remember when I first started driving, it was atrocious, but let's be honest. You are never gonna compete with Google Maps or Waze or any of those companies that has a crazy team dedicated just to that GPS. And I know, on the Uber GPS, it has improved, and Uber definitely has a team that probably works solely on the GPS. I think not only could you save more money, but you could make more money by saying, look, we're getting rid of the GPS, we're getting rid of that team, and we're gonna take that entire team and put them towards something else that could be way more lucrative. Number 4, a strike policy. This might be my favorite one on this entire video. Deactivation is becoming way more of an issue, especially on this channel. I cannot tell you how many comments I get of someone saying, hey Mark, I was driving, nothing really bad happened, but this passenger complained about me. And of course, Uber and Lyft will typically always take the passenger side. Now I'm deactivated, now I can't drive. I think what Uber and Lyft should do is do a 3-strike policy similar to YouTube. For example, let's say you just started driving and somebody's running late to catch a train or get on a flight or whatever. And let's say you take a wrong turn and you delay them by 20 minutes because you got caught in traffic and you made the wrong turn and blah, blah, blah. Well, let's be honest. It is your fault. You made the wrong turn. You should have known how to drive better. However, does that mean I think you should be completely terminated as a driver? Well, no. But I don't think you should just get away scot-free. So I think one cool policy Uber and Lyft could do is a 3-strike policy. The way it works on YouTube is 3 strikes and you're out. However, after 90 days, the strike is removed. So if you get 3 strikes in 90 days, your account is terminated. I think that'd be perfect for Uber and Lyft because let's say you make a mistake when you just started driving, you get a strike. After 90 days, that strike goes away. However, if you get 2 more strikes in that 90-day period, then your account is terminated. I think this would be a great option because on one end, if let's say you are driving and you mess up, you know you might get a strike. However, on the other end, and let's be blunt, Uber and Lyft, you have to know this, the customer is not always right. So let's say a passenger does complain, Uber and Lyft's like, you know what, this passenger's complaining, it's he said versus she said, we don't know which side to take. You know what? We'll just do this. We'll give the driver a strike. That way, at least we're saying to the passenger, hey, we took your complaint into consideration. But on the other end, you're not completely terminating their account. You're not completely deactivating them. Now, of course, though, every situation is different. If, let's say, there is a very intense, borderline legal situation that does happen in an Uber and Lyft, then, of course, you could terminate them right away. YouTube does this as well. If I, let's say, post a really messed up video on YouTube, there's no 3-strike policy. My account's just gone. Number 5. And this one could be a multi-million-dollar idea, but there's a lot of legal issues that come into play. And that is Uber and Lyft ambulances. Now, let's be blunt. As we all know, unfortunately, here in the States, it's becoming more common now for people to take an Uber or Lyft to the hospital than actually order an ambulance. And for most Uber and Lyft drivers, they're probably not trained EMTs. They don't have a background in the health and medical field. I think it'd be an amazing idea. And again, the way they go about this in terms of the logistics is gonna be important. Let's say Uber and Lyft got their own ambulances and charged significantly less than most insurance companies. As we all know, insurance companies here in America bring up the price for everything and make everything way more expensive. If let's say the app said, look, we have Uber ambulance or Lyft ambulance, we have an actual ambulance that we bought and we have trained EMTs on site, you can order this ambulance directly through the app and it gets here in an instant. And let's say it's only, I'm making this up, only $100 or $200 to take that ambulance as opposed to what, $4 or $5 grand. I feel like that's something that'd be a lot more enticing for a lot of people. I feel like this would be a win-win because for most people, they'd be like, hey, I don't have to spend this insane amount to get an ambulance. And for Uber and Lyft, it'd be a way for you to make a lot more money because let's be honest, people are gonna order that Uber or Lyft anyway. So what you can do is you can be that service saying, hey, we're still gonna charge you, again, a couple $100 because of, you know, the payroll and the cost of the ambulance and blah, 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 but it's way cheaper than what you typically might spend.